ワールドデコーダー始まります。今日のテーマはマイクロソフト日本に 1.6 兆円投資の真意です。マイクロソフトは2029年までの4年間で AI データセンターなどに100億ドル約1兆6000億円を投資することを発表しました。アメリカのビッグテックは今日本への大型投資を強めています。アマゾンは2027年までの5年間で 2.2 兆円、そしてオラクルは2033年までの10年間で 1.2 兆円を投資するとしています。今回の投資の真意について、マイクロソフト米国本社のブラッド・スミス副会長に非常に短時間なんですが話を聞いていきます。そして今日はブルームバーグの望月崇記者にも来ていただきました。望月さん、よろしくお願いします。
よろしくお願いします。
このビッグテックがですね、いろんな投資計画何年で何兆円とかって発表するわけですけど、かなり結構、なんでしょう、ふわっとしてて分かりづらいですよね。
そうですね。いろんなものが含まれてて、結局何にいくら使って、で、実際自分たちが出すのか、それともそのパートナーから出てくるお金もあるのかっていうのが、よく見えるものではないので、もうちょっとそこら辺のクリアリティは欲しいですよね。
そうですよね。ぜひそのあたりもブラッドさんに聞いていければと思います。というわけでインタビューをお届けします。ぜひ最後までご覧ください。Okay, thanks for your time today.
Thank you.
You met with Prime Minister Takaichi earlier today and then announced a 10 billion investment in Japan. Could you tell us how much of this goes to actual capex or data centers, building data centers in Japan?
All I'll say right now is a significant percentage. I mean, it also covers other costs that we'll have and investments we'll make in Japan. But the largest amount by a substantial margin goes to expanding our existing cloud data center capacity. It goes to building new data center here with GPUs to service our AI services like M365 Copilot. It goes to work with other partners to rely on their GPUs as part of our network as well. So infrastructure is, as it typically is, the most expensive part.
Mm-hmm. And why not just building data center by Microsoft itself, but instead of rely on the partners like SoftBank and Sakura Internet this time?
Well, we do different things in different parts of the world. I think that what we have the opportunity to do in Japan right now and what we have the need to do is two things. First, go as fast as we can. We have more demand than supply, and we can go faster when we work with more people. Second, I do believe it's an opportunity to continue to partner and contribute to the Japanese technology ecosystem. Not just those two companies, but lots of other companies that will provide the critical resources, the pieces that go into our data center, the connectivity and the like. And in a sense, our whole business model is based on partnerships. So by pursuing that partnership principle in the context of this expansion, I think it benefits our business. I think it makes us a better contributor to the country.
Mm-hmm. The cloud should take advantage of global scale, but everyone's talking about the AI and data sovereignty right now. But it's a sovereignty would add a cost to the cloud business. But so are you paying like this premium for Japan's geopolitical stability between US and China? What's the thinking behind it?
Not at the moment is what I would say, but I think the question is an interesting one. I think the real goal is to protect the sovereignty of nations, including their digital sovereignty, but doing that in a way that balances it with two other things. The first is economics. We shouldn't want to drive up the cost of computing for a country as an unintended part of better protecting sovereignty. The other is to recognize that in the world today, sometimes sovereignty requires keeping data within a country's borders. When a country's at peace, it typically wants to keep its data within its borders. It focuses mostly on cyber threats. But when a country is at war, things change. We're seeing this in the Middle East today. We saw it in Ukraine in 2022. Sometimes the only way to protect the sovereignty of a nation is to move its data outside its borders. So you need flexibility, and that's what we bring in part with a global presence in the public cloud.
Mm-hmm. I was going to ask about the people like investors are talking about whether there's too much investment into AI right now, and How are you thinking about return on investment of this gigantic investment in Japan?
Well, what I would say first and foremost is we don't build these things simply on the basis of a hope and a prayer. We build it on the basis of clear demand and demand signal. Right now, we are capacity constrained, meaning we need more capacity to meet current needs than we have. So whenever you're in that situation, it obviously makes sense to continue to spend money. We have customers that want to use it and pay for it. Over time, we obviously have to keep our feet on the ground even as we move fast. And we do that. Mm-hmm. We have a very solid balance sheet. We have very careful accounting. And so I think it's going to be a continuing need. Now, if you look at any year or quarter, sometimes things can change. But if you look at the next 5 years, the next quarter of a century, I think it is clear that we're going to see growing demand for AI, and that's going to require more AI infrastructure.
Mm-hmm. Specifically in Japan, what kind of demand do you see? Why did you double the investment this time to 4 years? Last time 2 years for the half of the amount, I guess. Why did you double it?
What we're seeing is accelerating AI usage. That's the short story. We see it in the data that we get on a quarterly basis. We'll release in the coming weeks a global picture of AI diffusion or usage around the world in the first quarter of 2026. The one thing I can say, having studied the data and not even having released it globally, the rate of growth in Japan is accelerating. We're seeing acceleration across, I think, fundamentally every part of the economy. Obviously, the Japanese economy is based in no small part on a number of very large, sophisticated companies. We're seeing their usage grow, but we're seeing usage grow in the small business segment. We're seeing in Japan consumer interest. We're seeing government and public sector as well as nonprofit growth accelerate. So this is the right time in our view. I would worry more that if we held back, we would end up waking up one day and finding that we were not able to meet the needs of the Japanese economy. And that would mean one of two things. Either we would lose market share to competitors, or we would be holding the country back. Mm-hmm. The first would be bad for our business. The second would be bad for the nation.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
Thank you. My name is Takashi Mochizuki from Bloomberg. So you said the significant portion of $10 billion is going to the actual capital spending of the data centers. Could you give us a little bit more details, like how much of that goes into the data centers? Like how 50%, 60%, 70%?
No. Look, we decided to put out this number. It adds it all up. We felt it was better not to break it out today. There may be days in the future when we do that. What I can say is if you look at a data center today and what it means to expand data center capacity, obviously some of that is spent to build new data centers. The way we work here in Japan, we do that in partnership with someone else, somebody who is the lessor, we're the lessee. Somebody goes to land. It goes to work with utilities to bring on more sources of electricity. It goes to build the buildings, the HVAC systems. Ultimately, no small part of it goes to bring in the chips that in some cases are fabricated here in Japan, in some cases in other countries. We also rely on other partners because the need for capacity is so great. So there are times when we're relying then on contracts with other companies that are providing their GPUs for the services that we provide. So, it's a very complex set of things that come together. That's what it is required to be a successful cloud and AI provider in the world today. But it also means that it's not really that helpful to try to give precise numbers on everything. We know that we will spend 1.6 trillion yen between the beginning of this year and the end of 2029. And we may see certain features adapt a bit, especially as we get to 2028 or 29. based on the needs of our customers in the market at that time.
Thank you. So you mentioned expanding the existing data centers and also building the new data centers. Yeah. Which one comes first?
They both have to come together. It's in some ways easier to expand the data centers we have today. That means just sometimes it's building more buildings. Sometimes it means bringing more compute capacity into space that we already have. Obviously, whenever you build a new data center, it takes more time. You've got to finish executing the agreement for the land and the lease. You've got to get the power in place. But it shows how important it is to get started right away. That's why everything needs to move together.
I see. How soon can we expect for your announcement of the next your data center building or expansion decision making?
It won't be next month.
Okay.
We gave 4 years because we see that as the right kind of window of time, given the commitments we're making now, the size of the investment we're making. I'm sure we'll update this before we get to the end of 2029. What we found, for example, was the announcement we made that I made 2 years ago in Washington, D.C. It was this same month in 2024. Is we've spent all of that money. At that point, it was $2.9 billion. In fact, we even spent a little bit more than that. And so we'll see how we progress. And I think we'll be back building even more as we look to the end of this decade into the decade ahead.
Okay. I think you are also well aware of this, but a lot of the data center plants in Japan are being delayed due to the shortage of labor and then materials. Are you concerned about your project may also see some delays in the future?
We hope not. We put together plans that we have confidence in. But you look around the world today. Look, it's an uncertain world. When we were in January, no one was anticipating that we would be in April talking about potential shortages of oil because of a war in the Middle East. I just think we live in a time when part of what it takes to be a global supplier of critical technology is agility, it's resilience, it's adaptability, it's contingency planning. We do all of that, and we will have to find what the world continues to bring to us. We'll manage through it, but it's one of the reasons we build such diversity in our supply chain wherever we can. And I think that is one of the strengths we have.
Thank you. So since you also mentioned the oil situation, how concerned are you about Japan's energy supply issues? Because right now what's happening in Iran is also, could also cause a problem in Japan in the future because Japan, relies a lot of energy supply from overseas. So what do you see the Japan in terms of, you being able to secure enough power or enough supply of energy?
Well, I would say two things. First, I am not the best expert on, say, the impact of the war on the price of oil and access to oil in Japan. And so I leave that to others who know far more than I do. I will say from a longer term perspective, separate one country, one war, 1 month, or 1 year. I just think what this is a reminder of is that the world remains very interconnected. Our products are very interconnected. I think suddenly here in the spring of 2026, all of us in the general public are reminded of what people in the energy sector learn and know and work with every day. The world's dependent on energy. The world is dependent in part on access to natural gas and oil, and it's not just, say, for the petrol in our cars. It's for the helium that's used to manufacture chips. It's for the petrochemicals that are used for our products. It's the fertilizer that grows our food. I think more than anything else, it's just a powerful reminder that at the end of the day, we do depend on each other. That's true across the economy. Companies depend on other companies. The world depends on AI. Our countries, Japan, the United States, we depend on each other as well. And the best way to continue to prosper is to, I think, in my view, invest in each other. And that in many ways is exactly why we're here today.
I have one last quick question. Microsoft has faced the allegation of the stifling cloud competition in Japan, and how is Microsoft responding to JFTC's current investigation, and how are you cooperating?
The way we always have. We want to answer every question. We want to provide information. If people have concerns, we want to listen to them. If solutions are needed, we'll find them. One of my first cases that I ever worked on, when I moved from Paris to the United States for Microsoft in the 1990s, was a case with the JFTC. So I'm reminded of the work we did then. They were very professional, they were objective, they were fair, we were responsible, we were constructive, and we found a solution. Interestingly, this week began with an announcement in the United Kingdom by the counterpart to the JFTC, the Competition and Markets Authority, the CMA. They had been looking at whether to designate Microsoft under a code for cloud computing. And we sat down with them. Some of these issues might turn out to be very similar. We agreed to address their concerns. We made some changes on interoperability, on egress fees and the like. And one of the things we'll do here and around the world is share with other regulators what we've done in the UK. We've been well served, in my opinion, to engage constructively with regulators. That is not an approach that is applied uniformly across our industry. But I think it served us well. It's served our customers in Japan well. It served the tech sector in Japan well. I think it served the nation of Japan well. And we will continue to pursue that approach.
Okay. Great. Thank you very much.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Good to see you.
Yeah, nice to see you again. Thank you. I enjoyed seeing you before.
Yeah.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
You all have a lot of cameras.